Brett Cooper. She recently said,
you are selling like the most biologically intimate thing that you can do, and you're putting like a price tag on. Like after that, what else do you have to give? I will never say that that is objectively healthy.
she would just like completely stop OnlyFans, and like she thinks it's like harmful to men and can do all of these different, is leading to a lot of divorce or problems in marriages. What's like your take on a statement like that?
There's bad in everything, right? And OnlyFans is an escape. It's an escape for people that are missing something in their life. And it's an outlet. Having a sex drive and using sex as a distraction is a distraction. It's no different than being an alcoholic and or a drug addict, right? At the end of the day, if you're using it for an emotional escape. And I think that this can get skewed where people are crossing the line and they're in a divorce they're in a marriage that they're not happy with, and they're looking for an escape, and this is their escape. Instead of alcohol, instead of drinking or whatever your escape is, this is their escape. And I think it brings up and shows that something in a marriage might be missing. If you're happy in your marriage, you wouldn't be going to this. Now, am I saying that's right or wrong? No. But that's why, like, I really try to get to know them and be like, why are you here? Like, what brings you here? What's your story? And obviously sometimes like you don't get the truth. But I saved a marriage on OnlyFans. There was this guy that I really got to know, and him and his wife weren't having sex, and he said to me that his wife knew that he was on here and that he was communicating specifically with me and that it was okay and all this stuff. And they got married very young. They have a lot of kids, and he's never gotten to really have his fantasies. So this was all allowed. So basically, he was using me as like an outlet, and basically his wife was not being faithful in the relationship. So, when he found that out, he broke and was like, I'm divorcing her, I'm leaving her. And I was like, listen, this, you don't have to go that far, because clearly both of you guys have not been communicating with each other. And, you guys were both looking for an outlet somewhere else. Like, you escaped to me on OnlyFans. She escaped to somebody in real life. I'm not saying one's worse or one's better or whatever, but both of you guys were escaping and not communicating, and something's missing. And I said to him, I was like, you need to have an honest, open conversation about what that is, and I encouraged him to talk to her, to work on it. And they did. And from what I know to this day, they're still together. And he sent me a crazy long message saying like, you were the best thing that ever happened to me. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten divorced, and I would end up regretting my decision when I'm older. We, figured out our differences, communicated, and our relationship couldn't be better than ever. And all this is because of you. And so, people can blame OnlyFans girls for this all they want. But at the end of the day, if somebody's choosing to do something, if someone's choosing to do drugs, if someone's choosing to do something, that's what they're choosing. But sometimes that's not the case. They're single, and this is an outlet for them. This makes them feel good, So I don't know. I know that's contradicting, and people could hear one side or the other, but it's, there's strip clubs still exist. There's the guys are guys at the end of the day. And this is just another way to have that outlet.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it strikes me too, right, of what your point is of like, if people are going here unhappily in a marriage, like that has more to do with the marriage probably than it does the OnlyFans or the potential outlet, in the same way that like most drug addicts, like it's often less about the specific chemical and much more to do with like the underlying like enjoyment of their life and how miserable or happy they are, right? And so it's like, because people can be addicted to running. Like you can find so many things that you can, harbor onto if you want to.
I was addicted to working. That was my distraction. I worked too much. I wasn't taking care of myself, and it was just work, 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 work. We all have our own distractions, and it's like you said, like it's just figuring out there's always something deeper. And that's what I try to teach everybody in my life. And again, it doesn't have to always be bad. It doesn't have to mean just because you're on OnlyFans that you're fucked up and something's wrong with you by any means. But if it is something where it's harming, the definition of addiction that I've heard is that if it's harming other people and in your life, or it's harming yourself, right? That's addiction. So if OnlyFans isn't harming you and it's not affecting any relationships and you're enjoying it and it's not, doing negative things to you, then okay, that's great. But if it is causing a negative impact, there's something deeper there, and it should be explored.
Yeah. Why do you think with OnlyFans, why do you think there like so much of it ends up being this relational component or this safe space for a man to be vulnerable? Like, why do you think that it's that space that they end up going to versus a therapist or a friend or another outlet?
Yeah, I think it's just similar question you might ask, like, why does a heroin addict go to heroin, right? Like, it's just their vice that they choose to go to. But I think they get to have this emotional connection with somebody, or this, even if it's sexual, it feels good to feel wanted. Like this person, even though it may be pretend, this person is, in the dance room or lap or whatever, that this person's like all over you. It feels good to be touched. It feels good to be desired. And that might be something that they're lagging in their relationship or their real life. They haven't really been touched in a while. They haven't been cared for. They haven't been looked to right in the eyes, or like, or they haven't had sex in a long time. And they, we're humans. We want sex. We want to be, we want to be touched. We want to be told that we're fucking hot and that we're the best thing to exist. And so I think it's a lot of that. And when we look at the suicide rates, 75% are men. And they're usually in their 30s and 40s. And men, women, it's okay for a woman to cry, but it's not okay for a man to cry in the world today. And we need to change that, because men are emotional too, and it's a beautiful thing for emotions, for a man to have emotions and to express his feelings. And so we haven't created a world for that yet, and a safe space for that yet. And I think that's all they're doing.
Yeah,
that's all they're doing.
Yeah, creating that safe space for the guy to actually be able to express his emotions and let that stuff out.
Yeah. And I think men too, this is going to take a different take on it, but men too have a higher sex drive than most women, and they can just fuck and not have it be emotional. And I think that when they're able to, I think sometimes in relationships, women try to control the man a lot, and I think that pushes men away. And I'm not saying this is the case for everything, but it also pushes men to want to be secretive and to want to go online and have this other world. For example, like if all your men, all his friends are going to the strip club, and you're like, you can't go to the strip club, you don't go there, you don't go there. Men especially don't like being told what to do, and a lot of people don't. No, none of us really do, right? We want to be free creatures. So when you're trying to control somebody, it could cause for things to come out of control. And I'm not saying that's right, but that's just the mindset of human nature. For example, just as kids, right? If a kid is told not to turn around, all of a sudden, they were never thinking about turning around, but now that they're told that they can't, now they want it. Now they want to turn around. Well, what's behind me? And you don't even have to be a kid. If I told you right now, Cameron, don't turn around, don't look, don't go behind you, you're like, you didn't even think about turning around. But now that I told you that you can't, you're like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Right.
Now you're curious. Now you might be scared, So I'm not blaming women at all for that. But I definitely feel that I try to create a safe space for everybody in my life to express whatever their desires are, regardless if it's like, a guy that I'm dating that's like, yo, like I saw this girl today and I had all these like sexual desires, and I was thinking about it in my head I wanted to have sex with her, and I didn't, but I'm telling you, and I would rather a relationship where my partner feels so open that he feels he can tell me that, because we're all fucking human. We're going to have these crazy, weird thoughts. We're going to maybe miss an ex for a minute. We're going to, so I think when you create that safe space, it helps bring people together, because we're human.